Welcome to this week's St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting. The types of business that occur at these meetings include public hearings, official voting on actions by the Board of Commissioners, presentations by departments of the county, and recognition of service that makes our county great. As your elected representatives, the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners is committed to improving the lives of all our residents while preparing county government to meet the demands of the future. In order to do that, we need to share our thoughts and plans with you. More importantly, we need you to share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions with us. We encourage you to come and experience the process by attending any of these meetings. They occur every first and third Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. at the St. Clair County Administration Building at 200 Grand River Avenue in Port Huron.
Rock and roll.
We're going to call the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Samasco. Here. Commissioner Tomian.
Here.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Here.
Commissioner Riley.
Here.
Commissioner Rushing.
Here.
Commissioner Graytop.
Here.
Chairman Bohm.
Here. Item number 3, additions, deletions, changes to the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we add the following additions to the agenda. Resolution 1416, approving Carl Tomlin, interlocal alternate. A memorandum of understanding with St. Clair County Library Board, 316 Grand River Avenue. Memorandum understanding with St. Clair County Parks and Recreation Commission, 318 Grand Avenue. We can insert those as items 11N, O, and P.
I have support.
Well, discussion, we're going to have to put those in a different location.
NNOP 11.
We already have a P. We have, for additions at 11M, NO and P, you're going to have to put that.
Oh, because approving the, let's
Correct.
take, I see what you're saying.
Matter
So
of order.
let's, Howard.
Yes.
Let's move item number 12 down and move everything up one. Because it's a purchase, approving the property. It would be, it's in the wrong order.
That's going to be 1423.
Okay.
Okay?
So where are we putting those?
We're gonna take K and move it underneath the rest of them. We're gonna slide the others up one. So 11 will become K, M will become L. Okay?
I missed that one, Mr. Chair.
Go over that one more time.
Item number K is the resolution approving the purchase of the properties. If we're going to do that, we're gonna do that after the memorandums pass. So it's kind of just a order where
that'll
it should
move to
be
the
cleaned
bottom
up.
and be
That'll
P?
move- That'll move to the bottom, correct.
Okay.
Oh, so you want to move,
I want to take K out of the order, and I want to move it on, as the
Okay,
last
we
item
can do
on the
that.
agenda.
So L will become K, M will become L, and then we'll go NOP. Okay.
Yeah, we've already got a P in there, so.
Yep.
It'll work, you watch.
Work with me, guys, we'll get there.
Gotcha, yep.
All right.
Did I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Those opposed? Item number 4, the approval.
I move the approval of the agenda as amended.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 5, A through B, the meetings of the previous meeting.
Mr. Chair, I would move that the minutes of the 4/17/14 commission meeting and the 5/1/14 standing committee meetings be approved and filed.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 6, 6A, Department of the Human Services Recognition. Mr. Riley?
Yes, I think before I do the, I'm going to call up Bill Weston. Want to come up, please?
You want your motion first?
No, I think I'll do the motion after. Good. This is a proclamation that I really am proud to say that sometimes employees throughout the county, their jobs, and not only the county jobs, but any job, you don't get enough recognition for when you really go over the top and do so well. His departments and what they cover through in the Human Services Board, I think is just outstanding, and that's why we're doing this today. I mean, it's a tribute to the whole department, and I think it's about time that some of these departments, when they do that, we get some kind of recognition, so that's why we're doing this today. This proclamation is recognition of outstanding service, St. Clair County Department of Human Services, whereas the Department of Human Services provides various forms of assistance, including Medicaid, food, cash, state emergency relief, and child care, daycare to the most vulnerable members of our community. And whereas approximately 24% of the population in St. Clair County receives some kind of benefit through the Department of Human Services, the majority of whom receive Medicaid, and whereas St. Clair County Department of Human Services is evaluated on a monthly basis and statistically compared with every county throughout the state of Michigan, which is ranked 6th for the standard of promptness in processing applications. And whereas the St. Clair County Department of Human Services processes more applications per month than any other office ranked within the top 10 in the state. And whereas in the month of March 2014, 53 workers, 6 supervisors processed 3,638 applications at 97.44 efficiency. And whereas in April of 2014, the same number of staff processed 5,247 applications with 98.7 efficiency. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners, on behalf of its citizens, does hereby adopt this proclamation recognizing the St. Clair County Department of Human Services for the outstanding service provided to the citizens of St. Clair County, and urges our fellow citizens to join us in a heartfelt thanks and gratitude. Proclaimed 15th day of May 2014, signed by Jeff Pullman, Chair, Steve Samasco, Vice Chair, Carl Tomian, Howard Heineman, Dave Rushing, Bill Graytop, and myself, Tom Riley, as commissioners. I think it's something that is extremely well earned. These people work hard, and I think it's time when that happens, they be recognized. So, thank you. Say something. He usually doesn't be quiet, but go ahead.
I don't speak much. I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate it on behalf of the staff and the management team, to Mr. Riley and also the entire Board of Commissioners for taking this time tonight to recognize St. Clair Department of Human Services. We really appreciate it. And there were some numbers that I was going to quote because I really love statistics, and everybody knows that about me, but they're all in there. But what I'd like to say is that we appreciate that Mr. Riley attends our board meetings each month, and he takes a real interest in what we do. He's sincere in his interest, and he wants to know how we're serving the citizens of this county, which is great. I'd also like to say thank you because we have a really supportive DHS Board of Directors, Mr. Tom Seppo, who's our board chair, Mr. Jim Goldsworthy, and Mrs. Barb Henneke, who are here, as well as our program manager. We have some staff, the program manager, Deb Walbeck, who's here. So we have there's a great deal of support that I have and that the staff have in doing their job. And lastly, I just wanted to say I've worked in county management, state management in 6 different counties before I landed here in St. Clair County. And I can say, having worked with several commissioners and board of directors, that this is by far the most supportive county board of commissioners and board of directors that I've come in contact with. So I'm really extremely pleased to be here in St. Clair County, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next proclamation, the Gov 30 Award Proclamation.
Want me to,
Mr. Chairman,
I gotta finish.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, he's got to finish.
Okay, I would like to move that the proclamation recognizing the St. Clair County Department of Human Services be approved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed. Item number B, the Gov 30 Award Proclamation.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would move that the proclamation recognizing Jeff Friedland in the Office of Emergency Management for receiving the Gov 30 award be approved.
Support.
You gonna do, you got, all right.
Yep, I do.
Mr. Friedland?
Yep, I do. Like to step up here? If your family is interested in taking pictures, feel free to wander around, take all the pictures you want. Won't bother us at all. What do you think so, eh? They're gonna touch up this photo. Okay, go ahead. Let me read this first and then I'll say 1 or 2 words. I won't be too long, guys. Proclamation recognizing Jeff Friedland and St. Clair County Office of Homeland Security Emergency Management, the Gov 30 Award. It sounds like a strange award, but I'll tell you about it in a minute. Whereas the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners wishes to recognize Jeff Friedland and the St. Clair County Office of Homeland Security Emergency Management for being recognized as a 2013 Gov 30 Award winner for their Resilient Project. And whereas the Gov 30 Award presented by GovSec recognizes 30 leaders for their contributions to the government security community with a focus on critical infrastructure, secured cities, cyber crime, cyber terrorism, counter and anti-terrorism, and homeland security. And whereas the Resilient Project provides support for the daily operations, emergency response, and overall security of the U.S. border with Canada. The project is a web-based application that brings in data and information from dozens of sources for real-time pictures in any emergency situation. And whereas the strong public-private partnership that was built into the first successful Virtual Cities Resilient program, these partnerships are not only within St. Clair County, but include Lapeer and Lambton counties, along with additional state and federal assets. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners, on behalf of its citizens, does hereby adopt this proclamation recognizing Jeff Friedland in the Office of Homeland Security Emergency Management for their accomplishments and extends our deep appreciation for their distinguished services and urges our fellow citizens to join us in a heartfelt thanks and gratitude proclaimed this 15th day of May 2014. Signed Jeff Bohm, Chairperson, Steve Semesco, Vice Chairperson, and Commissioners Carl Tomian, Howard Heidemann, Tom Riley, Dave Rushing, and Bill Greatop. Let me hand you this. Say congratulations to you. Thank you. And let me tell you just briefly that how prestigious this award really truly was. There are 30 of them given out in the entire United States. Out of 50 states, there are 30 awards given. The names on the list, which I didn't bring with me, but I remember some of the positions, there were 2 U.S. senators, there were 3 U.S. representatives, there was a general, there were many department head and directors of some of these high-level, top-secret, I don't know what they're called, organizations, and my buddy Jeff was right in there in the thick of it with everybody. He deserves everything he got here. They're doing a fantastic job out there. Jeff, congratulations to you, buddy. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, and there's really 2 things that make it work. One is living in St. Clair County because of the people, the responders, government. We're all one community, and when you go somewhere and people say, how do you get it done? And it's just, hey, we all get together, we get it done, and we don't waste a lot of time talking about it. And the second thing is my great wife. She puts up with a lot, but she's a good gal, and family's important, and I actually get some time to see him once in a while, so thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the reports of standing and special committees. I'm going to start with Commissioner Smasko.
No report.
Commissioner Tomian.
I have none this evening.
Commissioner Heidemann.
None at this time.
Commissioner Graytop.
Yes, sir. One short report. As most everybody knows, we're in the process of working on an ORV ordinance for the county. It'll be a countywide ordinance. We've revised it several times. I believe we are down to the final revision at this point. And I just want to let it be known that we are going to have a general informational session here in this boardroom on Monday, June 16th at 4 p.m. and a second one on Wednesday, June 18th at 6 p.m. If you are at all interested in that, and I know many of the townships and township boards are interested, this meeting is aimed at mostly at those people who need to report to their local constituents. So mark those dates down, June 16th and 18th. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Rushing.
I just want, in addition to your ORV, we're going to have a brief rundown, I believe, at your supervisors meeting at Holly Meadows next Thursday night, and I'll be there for that.
Mr. Riley.
Nothing tonight.
We are actually going to go to the consent agenda. I skipped that. Then what I'm going to do is something a little different today because a lot of people are here to speak on the art van purchase. I've got some aerials of the buildings and I'm going to talk. I've probably got 10 minutes worth of things to chit-chat about. So we're going to jump back out of order here because I missed the consent agenda. So do I have a motion for the consent agenda items A through G? I have a second.
Support.
Any discussion on anything on the consent agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. All right, I'm not a real techie guy here, so the down arrow. Okay, this shows the current footprint of the county and the existing buildings that it exists. That building right there is the county administration building. This building right here is the art van building. This building right here is the existing library building. That is the building that used to be the EOC that we actually tore down that is parking. This space over here is the old jail site that is some of the parking that we actually maintained. Back in 3 years ago, actually, previous when those buildings were just in the getting tore down stages, the art van building was up for sale. And we looked at it at that time, actually went and talked to the board at that time, previous board, about possibilities of purchasing that building. And we actually went in front of the city council in Port Huron and talked about the county's interest at that time in that property. And really at that time, they wanted a lot of money. It was $1.2 million for the building at the time, and we didn't feel that, that was a good buy. We did, though, like the property because the way that it fits into the county's campus. So if there was ever future opportunity to get that property in the county footprint, it does lend itself to a lot of opportunities. So at that time, 3 years ago, too much money, so we kind of put it on the back burner, and really we had some discussions, but nothing to where it got to the point today. About a year ago, we had met with the library individuals. There's a bunch of the library folks in attendance. When we were first paving that parking lot, the library had contacted us at the time, the previous administrator, and wanted that piece of property right there for dedicated parking for the library. And we didn't want to do a dedicated parking situation at the time because we really weren't sure what we were doing as far as what we were going to do with that property, what we were going to do with this. There was a lot of questions. So we did go ahead, the county at the time, and went and paved that parking lot right there. We spent roughly, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, it was like $206,000, somewhere in that, to actually pave that parking. And if anybody ever used to come down here in the whole campus area, courthouse, the parking situation was always pretty bad. It was not good. So this has roughly 80 additional spots. With the jail being removed, we were able to save another 50 spots. So we really put another 130 parking spots into the downtown county campus to help eliminate some of the parking problems. I think if you talk to any people that have come down here previous versus today, it's a much better situation. When we met with the library board, they're talking about their long-term plans and those things. And part of some of their long-term plans, they looked at a few different options, and I'm not going to speak for them because they don't have their specific plans honed in yet, but there's 4 or 5 different options. And out of many of those options, what happens is it talks about possible expansion here at the library. The concern with some of the expansions is removal of additional parking in that area. So if the library needs to move forward and do some of the things they need to down the road, are we willing to give up 100 spots? We just got our parking situation squared away down there. Now we, have to remove the parking. So we said, well, why don't we resurrect this conversation on the Art Van property over here, and let's reach out to the folks and see what they're asking for the property, and would you be willing to participate with the county to buy that and, look at participating there. At the same time, we met with the city of Port Huron. This, on a Friday and Saturday night, if you ever come down here, gets extremely busy. And I think the parking issues in downtown Port Huron are pretty well documented, and they are, looking to address those different issues. When we met with Bruce Brown and Pauline Rapp and a couple of the other individuals, we said, is this something that would make sense to put some additional parking? Now, the city of Port Huron has not made a firm commitment, but they do have an interest, I can tell you, in participating with the county to put some additional parking in that portion of it. So when we started looking at the other buildings, we said, okay, we got a price on the building. It was $560,000. We went and got an appraisal. Came back at $560,000. When we talked to the library, we said, okay, we put $200,000 in there, so that seems if you need that additional space, at $200,000 was how we arrived at the number as far as the library's portion to participate. So it really gives them the opportunity to do what they need to do for the future. When we were going through this particular building right here and we started looking around at the building, and we pulled some ceiling tiles back, and we saw that this portion of the building right here, which is actually a freestanding, it's 120 foot by 120 foot freespan big wood structure. So we looked at that and we said, would that work as an outdoor pavilion, recreational type of use? So those discussions started. We met with a lot of our individuals from the Parks and Rec. We had a lot of people through the building. I see some of the individuals that were in attendance tonight that actually went through this piece of the building. And we said, I think it makes sense for a pavilion to explore, to go down that path with a covered pavilion, outdoor amphitheater, call it what you may. So it really was something that Parks and Rec, we identified that with Parks and Rec. We identified that with the library being a use, and it kind of satisfies the city's needs. It does put additional inventory into the parking. So let's go here. When you look at this being demoed, now we're talking about demoing roughly 2/3 of the building, maintaining this. We did get the structural reports as far as going to open air. That's not a problem with that. We did have extensive environmental, phase 1, phase 2, and Bill can touch a little bit more on that. This shows an additional 120 parking spots right here, which is roughly, it's a few more spots than what we're taking out over here, but it really, if you take that additional parking, it at least puts that much parking back in inventory for the county. A lot of people that work, in this building actually park over here and vice versa. So it's kind of like I said, it's a trade-off on the parking. So that's why we're here today to talk about moving forward with the purchase of this to really satisfy a need of the library and to continue to work with Parks and Rec on the development of this. This went to both of their boards and it passed to move forward. It also went to the Parks and Rec board and it passed. And so, we're going to discuss moving forward on the purchase of this with that intent in mind. Now, there will take some time. We will have a lot of other meetings in this to talk further about that, and it's kind of where we're at today. Any of the commissioners have any questions at all for me? Because I know a lot of questions. How come you're putting library money in? How come Parks and Rec is participating? Carl?
I just think for the benefit of the audience, you should explain what actions are on the agenda tonight and when they're going to appear on the agenda.
Mr. Kaufman, I'm going to have him explain that portion of it.
Well, the first thing that will happen, one of the reasons we amended the agenda tonight was to add a couple of these items.
Can you talk in the...
We amended the agenda tonight to add a couple of these items. Near the end of new business under item 11, near the bottom, what we're going to be doing, the board will be asked to review the memorandum of agreement with the Parks and Rec Commission and with the Library Board. If the Board of Commissioners agree with the language, they will authorize Chairperson Bohm to sign those two agreements on your behalf. After that action occurs, then the last item that will occur under new business will be a resolution to purchase the property at 318 Grand River.
Thanks, Bill, for pointing out what the process is going to be tonight. And I think it's important for people in the audience to know that what we have before us tonight are signed memorandums of agreement with both the Library Board and the Parks and Recreation Commission. I wanted people to understand that those bodies have met and considered this project themselves and have already approved this agreement. Thanks.
Howard.
Mr. Chair, following up on these memorandums, I think we need to emphasize in both of the memorandums, in event that it doesn't work out in terms of recreation facility for Park and Rec, that money plus interest will be paid back to them from the county fund. And I want to emphasize that. Now, the library one is for a much longer period of time. The Park and Rec one is for 2 years. The library one is for 10 years. They're still working on their long-range plan. So, but it also is in that agreement, too, that in event it doesn't go forward, they will be made whole.
That's a very good point, Howard. Steve, you had a...
Just was going to follow up on Carl's comments as it relates to just information. I've looked at both of these resolutions. I think they were in one form out at an earlier time, but in the form they're now before our board, both passed one by the Parks and Rec Commission and one by the Library Board. For instance, the Library Board, a memorandum, which is an independent action of that board, citizens we appoint to that board, identify a library-related need, and they commit funds for that purpose for a future need. I think that's entirely appropriate. The Park and Rec resolution is similar. They're interested in developing that property, considering development of the property, and they're committing funds as well. And I know that I've had discussions with our administrator and with you, Jeff, that this board will absolutely make certain that whatever purpose that property is put toward, that it will be appropriately related to both purpose and source of funding and so forth. So the Times Herald today had a editorial that I assume they didn't have much of the facts because they said it was a questionable act, to go down this road. So I think with these resolutions and full knowledge of what other boards have done and the reason for this, that it would much less questionable, I guess, is what I would want to point out.
David.
I want to stress the fact with the Park and Rec and also the library, the county supports both very well with the millages. And the millage monies that are going to be potentially used for this, if it gets approved, will be for that purpose. And then it's in the memorandums that if it is not used for that purpose, the millage money will go back to the library and Park and Rec. So the millage money that has been collected will be used for the purposes that it was collected for.
Steve?
Just one other note too is, but for the fact that we had these resolutions by these other boards, I would not be in a position to support this, but because they did, adopt resolutions addressing this issue and asking for this type of action, I'm going to support it, so.
And many of you know we've been talking about this property. Like I said, it was 3 years ago. I was in front of the city council in Port Huron initially at the time to talk to the city of Port Huron. It was 3 years ago, and at the time it was too much money, and not all the other partners were involved. It's a different place we're here today than we were 3 years ago.
But this will cover the full purchase price. There are no general fund monies from the general fund going toward it, correct?
Okay. Okay, that's a little bit out of different, but I want to get at least some of that information, so hopefully it clarifies some of the stuff. We're going to go to citizens wishing to address the board. I've got Jim Kubrow, 15184 Dudley Road, Brown City, Michigan, Lynn Township, Art Van Building purchase.
Mr. Chair, just a comment. We ran out of approval forms.
Yeah, we got the cards.
So if you could fill out a 3x5 card, and that will have to survive. Keep in mind, you're limited to 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes. Yep. You can go right up there. Thank you.
There's a red clock up there if anybody's interested in it.
Okay.
Right over there.
Well, I guess my concerns, I didn't have complete information. I relied on what was in the Times Herald, as to what was going on with the library. And, it looked to me like it was a diversion of taxpayer funds. We voted for the library millage and the Parks and Recreation millage for specific purposes, and it looked like they were being diverted into a county land speculation project. And I hope that the county is able to manage this project well, because this board in past times does not have a very good track record managing capital projects like you're proposing with this building, to tear down part of it or remodel it. I can point out this building that we occupy now went behind schedule and way over budget, and it was promised that that would never happen again. Then along came the jail, which was going just fine, until suddenly we're millions of dollars over budget, and when it was completed, a lot of it didn't work. And now we have the convention center coming down on us too, which we never really got a chance to vote on. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to follow up with Kay Cumbo, 15184 Dudley Road, Brown City, Michigan.
Yeah, my big question to all of you is, when were you going to tell the public? And when were you going to tell the librarians that manage the branch libraries? And when were you going to tell the townships that rely on this, the recreation and park money? And the public voted for these millages, and they voted for them for specific purposes. And so we are part of the discussion. And I'd say to you, what's the rush? Why not have the discussion with the public? Why not postpone a decision tonight and have the discussion with all of the public? And I also want to say that if millages are not going, if the public's not aware of what millages are going to be used for, and if we're not part of that decision, the public is not going to vote for millages. If it's just gonna be a pocket, a deep pocket for the county to just use for whatever purpose they want, or it appears like that even, it's not good. So that's one thing. I also should remind you that this is an election year, and people, I live in a township, and the township I live in is fiscally responsible, and they stick to a budget, and when they don't have money, they don't spend it. And 10 years is a long time for the library to be committing funds from millages. And they may have a good plan, let them share it with the public, and you should know that too. Anyway, I'm not happy about this. Our librarians knew nothing about this. Yale Library, K-PAC Library, our township knew nothing about it. I just, why the rush? Why not have a public discussion? Thank you.
Okay. Ken Harris, Art Band Building. I know it's Wells Street in Port Huron.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here tonight to speak against the use of the Art Van property for this project. Just like the lady that preceded me made the comment, I kind of have gotten some distrust with our St. Clair County Recreational Board for the simple reason of this use of the money. After all the good things that they're doing right now in the expansion of parks in the south end of the county, I think this is kind of a step backwards. I think that we have to look at the whole county, and we're not looking at the whole county. I don't see where the advantage is to build another parking structure. I think the only one in the city of Port Huron that's advertising and needs parking is Larry Jones. I think if you wanted to have a parking lot, then you ought to sell it to Larry Jones when he builds in his new hotel over here. Another thing I might want to bring your attention, it's just something technical, but being the Art Van properties at 318 Grand River, you have two other items on this agenda that you approved tonight using that same address, and I think maybe for purposes under your changes to the agenda, you list two of the resolutions at 318 Grand River, and that's not a fact. Thank you.
Okay. Judy Lindberg, 1660 River Road, number 57, Art Band Building.
I voted for Parks and Rec, and I voted for the library board, and I'm not happy that the funds are being used in this manner without the public understanding. I had not heard anything about it, and it may come to be, but I think you need to wait, and I think you need to get the public on your side. I am sure there are many others like me who are strong supporters of Parks and Rec and library millage. We do not want it used in this manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Dick Cummings, 8128 Holly Road, Avoca. Subject, Art Band Building.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, fellow citizens. Many years ago, myself and several people spent about 3 years of our time on Parks and Recreation back in the CETA days, and we had a zero budget from the commissioners. We had a lot of projects that we took care of with CETA help, and volunteers, and we had a zero budget, so it was disbanded. So then when we come back to the area we live in today, and a lot of surveys out there showed that we needed more Parks and Recreation, then the millage has been passed. I think this is a total waste of our time. You're also taking that Art Van property, as I understand it, and I'll be corrected, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. When that becomes public property, you're not going to get a tax base out of that. So I agree with Mr. Harris there. If somebody wants to come along and buy that and do whatever they want with it, then keep the taxes here in Port Huron. Years ago, the horse people were the people started out the Parks and Recreation to get trails, horse trails and bike trails. That was our idea. And also to expand Goodall's Park out there, have an indoor arena, if you will, so horse people and farm people and car shows or whatever could do a lot of events year-round. So that was what our goal was. I think we got this damn much money extra in the Parks and Recreation. If they're not going to use it what it's intended, then you might as well give it, divide it up to all the townships and the communities what the system is there for. I've supported, and the unions have supported over the years, both the library millages and the Parks and Recreation millages. As I understand it, you guys are managing the money. The jails have taken cuts, the libraries have taken cuts, and you know, if anybody in this room is going to believe me with the way the economy is today, in a couple years you're going to pay this money back. I think somebody's looking the wrong way. So I'm not going to support Parks and Recreation, and I'm not going to support the library millages in the future either. I think it's a misuse of the taxpayers' money. So I would hope you would reconsider this, put it on the back burner. I'd like to think that I'm an average individual, know what's going on in the community. I didn't know about this situation, wouldn't even be here tonight if I didn't see it in the paper, the same with some of the other fellow citizens that's been up there. So if you got that much money in Parks and Recreation, give it out to the communities and put out there what it's intended for. Thank you. I hope you take serious consideration on this.
Arnold Larson. Arnold's the chairperson of the library board regarding the art van building.
Thank you. I understand why some people are very concerned, but I think the public and the commissioners need to know that the library is a 50-year-old building, and the board has been looking at options and needs of that facility in terms of its HVA system, et cetera, and some safety issues. Based on preliminary engineering studies, it looks like we'll need to have some major renovations completed within the next 5 to 10 years, which might include some expansion of the existing facility. Now, we have made no decision to make a recommendation on a proposed expansion. We're in a very preliminary stage. We've talked briefly with an architect to look at some schematics. We've talked with Bill Kaufman in terms of the relationship with the Board of Commissioners. But when it came up to the opportunity for use of the existing property adjacent to the library, which would take up about 80 parking spaces, the Board of Commissioners thought about the art van would be a nice reciprocal change. So we would take up existing space, which would probably cost about $200,000 to replicate, if we decided to build. Now again, if there's a recommendation after studying it and looking at architectural design and sharing with our library board and friends, we decided to go ahead with a proposal, it would be a bond issue, which would go before the public. And if public could not support an expansion and a bond issue to pay for such an expansion, then we would not build, and the county would reimburse the library the $200,000. And I think, so you'd understand, we're not jumping the gun. We're looking at an opportunity for down the road. So if we should decide to expand, we would then have the opportunity for adjacent parking that we would then present to the public for their support or non-support for the expansion. Thank you.
Terry Gill, 8168 Bricker Road, Greenwood Township.
I'm also a township supervisor of Greenwood Township. Now, I'm not here tonight representing my township. I'm here representing myself, simply because I didn't know about it either. But as a township supervisor, I do prepare the budget for Greenwood Township. And we have millages also. And those funds are dedicated to that purpose. Now, I understand that you're saying that these funds will be paid back if you don't use it for that. But I can't understand. It amounts to a low-interest loan, doesn't it? If you're taking money from a dedicated pot of money for millages and you don't know yet whether or not you're going to use it on their behalf. Because didn't you say that on the amphitheater or whatever, that you haven't decided on that yet? And that you might give it back? So right now, you don't know that that money is being used for the purpose that the people voted it for. And I know in Greenwood, we would not get our millage passed, and we have one coming up this year, if we move that money to something that it wasn't dedicated to. And so I'm just here objecting to the financing because I don't think you should be doing that.
Okay. Charlene Schneider, 3239 Fanone Drive, Port Huron, Michigan, use of millage funds.
Good evening, gentlemen, and I understand your wishes to use the funds that you have from the various boards. But I think the use of millage funds, particularly library millage funds, which are for operations, My husband and I have both been active on all millage campaigns until the last one, is a misuse of funds. If the library board, and I have been chairman of that board at one period in time, wishes to use funds for that purpose, it should be the county's funds to the library, not dedicated millage funds. That undermines people's confidence in the millage. It undermines their belief that that money is going to go for their use. If you said to the people in Alp County, oh gosh, we're going to think about expanding the library and we'll use a little bit of millage funds to do that, the millage would sink. I know it sounds like, I am a doomsayer, but I've been out there. I've talked to people in the townships trying to get the millages passed over various periods in time, from the first one up until the one before this last. So this is 2014, 2010. Please reconsider, for public trust, use of millage funds. And I know, you will pay them back if you can, but we've been through the recession. People don't always have money to pay back things when they think they do. So I know you'll do what you think is best, but please remember, these millages are coming up this fall, and we need them. The library needs them desperately.
Barbara King, 4541 Atkins Road, Clyde, Michigan, use of millage funds.
Well, I just wanted to mention that this is probably not the best time to do this, and maybe not the best way, because if people can't be 100% certain that the money that they're voting their taxes for is going to what they're voting for, they probably are not going to vote to renew any of those millages. Thank you.
Juanita Hunter, 1471 Turner, Yale, purchase of Art Van property.
I am here to represent my township. I am on the board in Lynn Township, and I would like to know, what's the rush? Can anybody tell me what's the rush? I don't understand why we didn't hear about this before. The first I knew about it was Wednesday when it came out in the paper. I don't feel it's the right time to do this, and my constituents don't feel it is. And like the lady said, the millages are coming up for election on this summer. So I think that this is not the right time, and it seems like it's being shoved down our throats.
Okay, Kathy Blado, 625 North Allen Road, Kimball, Michigan, wage increases.
Commissioner Bohm, members of the board, my name is Kathy Blado, and I'm a bachelor prepared registered nurse working as a public health nursing supervisor for St. Clair County. For the past 13 years, I have embraced a challenging, dynamic, progressive nursing career at St. Clair County Health Department. 12 of those years have been spent supervising 4 to 5 different and demanding public health clinics and programs. I respectfully ask you to listen to why St. Clair County Health Department nursing supervisors and registered nurses merit a wage increase. We are here tonight because we were advised the Board of Commissioners said there will be no raises, bringing the total years without a raise for us to at least a proposed 8 years, if not more. Recently, I've been reassigned to replace a previous WIC coordinator who had a higher salary than I am paid now, even though my predecessor was not a bachelor prepared RN with added nursing responsibilities. When the previous nursing director retired last June and the 3 health department supervisors were assigned her work, we stepped up. We were told that we deserved to be compensated for doing the work of a higher classification. Our reclassification request was denied by the county, and we have yet to receive any compensation, even though we assumed her work for almost a year. Now, our proposed wage increase has been denied by the Board of Commissioners. And in turn, to even turn the screws tighter, The county has recently informed us that we must pay 100% of our health insurance while contract negotiations continue in order to be compliant with the law. That adds up to approximately $320 a month for my family health insurance. Who treats employees with exemplary work ethics, integrity, and high caliber with such indifference? As nursing supervisors, we are the ones who continue to lead the health department into the future as we help administration to redefine, create, improvise, and reinvent our relevance in the 21st century. We meet all our program standards with commendation from the state, while working tirelessly to improve our service efficiency, maintain our caseloads, and serve the community with dignity, respect, and client-centered care. As public health nurses, we are the Olympians that champion the health of the common man. We protect, serve, and advocate for the most vulnerable of our society, the poor, the uneducated, the mentally challenged, and recently, with many job losses, the recently poor and destitute. We provide mass clinics for pandemics, flu inoculations, and give ourselves smallpox vaccine in preparation to serve in bioterrorism threats. Public health registered nurses are in homes that no others would ever step foot in, and they respectfully and compassionately care for those who occupy those homes. We diminish the spread of disease, positively affect community health indicators, and continually provide health education and a plethora of resources and referrals. In 3 minutes, it is impossible to impart how many hats the nursing supervisors wear, how much ownership we take, and how much work we do to ensure the health of this community. Going 6 years without a raise has been outrageous. Proposing we don't get one for at least another 2 years is, in my opinion, uncivil and demeaning. The people, the public respect what we do, and I think you should too. Thank you very much.
Melanie Dunsmore, 402 Park Avenue, Yale, wage increase.
Hello, my name is Melanie Dunsmore, and I'm a registered nurse with a bachelor's degree. I've worked at the health department for 15 years, and I've been a nursing supervisor for about 12 and a half years. I've supervised between 3 and 4 different programs, very different state programs, assuring compliance, efficiency, and most importantly, quality care. 6 years ago, nursing supervisors met with Human Resources to secure our 3-year contract, and we were told the economy was bad and we would not get a wage increase. Although unhappy, we decided to be team players, signed, and moved on. 3 years later, we were back at the same table to secure yet another 3-year contract, and again, we're told no wage increases because the economy had not improved as expected. Now, following the Board of Commissioners' recommendations, the county proposes we go another 2 years without a wage increase, bringing the total years without a raise to 8 years. Not only have we not had a raise, but our take-home pay is actually less due to the increased insurance premiums. The cost of living has continued to climb over the past 6 years, with gas prices going up, groceries, utilities. I could go on, but everybody in this room is well aware of the increases and the reality that it will only continue to increase over the next 2 years and beyond. Over the last 6 years, nursing supervisors have taken on more and more. 2 years ago, we had a coordinator off for 5 months, and I took on her duties as well as mine and prepared 3 programs for state accreditation, all of which passed with accommodations. A year ago, the vision and hearing coordinator retired and was not replaced. I was assigned her duties. Last June, the nursing director retired, and her position was not replaced up until a couple weeks ago. The 3 supervisors split the nursing director duties. We were led to believe we would be compensated as these additional duties were from a higher classification. When we pursued the reclassification or compensation, we were told the county is not approving reclassifications and we would not be compensated. I was raised to work hard and always give 100%. I don't know how to do anything else. Kathy just shared her story. It should be obvious we are team players. And as we, as well as the other nurses, are an important piece as to why St. Clair County Health Department is highly regarded throughout the state. We deserve to have a raise after 6 years, especially with the increased workloads. The availability of insurance and medical care for chronic illnesses is extremely important. However, it drives up the health care cost. Prevention, on the other hand, saves lives and reduces the cost of medical expenses. As professional nurses, we are integral to the future and success of an ever-changing community as public health becomes recognized as a leader in health prevention, not only in the community, but also in the workforce. It is disheartening to know that the board feels it is okay to allow their employees to work 6 years without a raise, much less 8 years without a raise.
Madam,
Thank you.
your 3 minutes is up.
Joyce Lashbrook, 3184 Alicia Drive, Port Huron, Michigan. Raises.
Good evening. My name is Joyce Lashbrook. I've worked at St. Clair County Health Department for 20 years. In 6 years as a home visiting nurse for the Maternal Infant Health Program, and 14 years as the coordinator of the Maternal Infant Health Program. I've been with the county for 20 years, so I went to those meetings, every one of them, when the county was having their hardships. We knew we had to pull in our belt. There were foreclosures everywhere. There were no tax dollars for the county assessment, so therefore there was no revenue to give raises, to give any money. But there was a light at the end of the tunnel when the assessor got up and said that even though it was going to be a long haul, that in 2013 things would turn around. And they have turned around. My son's in real estate, my son-in-law owns a real estate company, and they are selling houses, and not just the foreclosures anymore. My home, which devalued $60,000, is now up 20, 10 last year and 10 this year. So things are changing. So out of respect for our profession, because I too have my bachelor's from University of Michigan in nursing, we at the health department did everything that the county asked and more. We were 150 strong and now we're only 74 employees. We did not replace staff. We decreased expenses over time by millions. As I recall, we had to decrease expenditures, I think it was $5 million over a 3-year period, $5 million, $5 million, $5 million. We did not receive wage increases for 8 years. Now we have to pay our health insurance, as Kathy and Melanie discussed. In fact, many of us work through breaks, through lunch. We don't even ask for comp time. We just do the work because we're dedicated to our jobs. We're dedicated to the ideals of public health and to the county. The cost of living, as Melanie went over, as far as increases in food and utilities and everything else we buy has increased. We've saved you a lot of money and we've made you a lot of money. So you can buy property, demolish buildings, build convention centers at our expense. I'm not an accountant, but I know financial statements don't always show the whole story. I think it's unconscionable that you won't provide us with a wage increase after 8 years of hardship to the workers who provided respect, hard work, and dedication to this county and its citizens, who Dr. Mercantile tells us all the time we are respected as individuals and programs in the county by the citizens and stakeholders, and who also feel we provide quality
Madam, your 3 minutes is up. Thank you.
I find it is very disrespectful that you won't provide a wage increase to registered, licensed, and professional nurses. I say we deserve to be paid what we're worth in this county that needs us.
Jennifer Behrens, 1802 Vine Street, St. Clair.
Commissioners, I'm going to echo a lot of the things that have already been said, but I want to say it's very difficult for me to get up here and speak in front of a crowd of people, even when I know a lot of them very well. But I feel very passionately about this, and I'm here to support my fellow nurses. I've worked at the health department for 8 years in 2 different programs that I love. First, I was in the maternal infant health program, assisting pregnant moms to help assure that they had a safe and healthy delivery of a healthy baby. and now I'm in Children's Special Health Care Services. There are only 2 of us working in that program, and we work hard every day to assist over 500 families whose children have serious health issues or disabilities. I love my job very much, but other than a step raise, I haven't had a raise at all since I started there. And I'm still making $4 an hour less than I did when I left the hospital in 2005. Due to the increase in insurance costs, most of us are actually making less than we did 8 years ago, and yet as budgets were cut and many jobs were not filled as people left, we have all taken on many more duties than we had 8 years ago. As a citizen of this county, I ask that you reconsider your absolute refusal to even entertain raises for the nurses, and in fact, the clerks as well, because they haven't had raises in over 8 years either. Thank you.
Barb Tadero, 7291 State Road, Fort Gratiot, nurses pay.
Hello, my name is Barb Tadero. I grew up in St. Clair, and I have lived and worked in St. Clair County my whole life. I have been a registered nurse for 21 years, and I have worked at the health department for around 12 years. I am here today to inform you that the nurses have been overlooked for our professionalism and our pay. I have worked on a med-surg unit, labor and delivery, home care, and hospice. The most challenging has been here. The lowest pay has been here. Why the most challenging? You can fix a person's pain, help them recover and heal, help patients and families through the dying process, but you cannot fix the fact that someone had to grow up not knowing what being loved and being nurtured feels like, having a stable home, having responsible parents. You cannot fix someone who was molested, who has mental illness, who is a felon, who has HIV. Educating people to know more, want more for their life, and making changes to be healthier, safer, more successful are our daily challenges with the people we serve. Yet the nurses at the hospital are making $9 to $10 more per hour. I ask what other employee could leave their current position and make a higher salary. Nurses can. We have already lost great nurses at the health department. We deserve more for the work we do every day. We have endured tough times the past several years. I have worked 2 jobs the last 3 years. We have had increases to everything in our life except our pay. We've lost a 6-month health insurance abeyance from our last contract. We are now paying $160 a pay period for our health insurance for a family. We are contributing for our health insurance for retirement. We have continued to serve our community despite fewer nurses. We have taken on more work. I have cross-trained to multiple areas, as many staff have. Myself, once working in 1 program, now cross-trained to 3 programs, and sometimes working in all 3 of them within the same day. We must strive to continue to make this community all you envision it can be with the work you do. Now help us do the same. It is perhaps what this community needs the most. We ask you all to please reconsider our value.
Okay, that's it on the citizens wishing to address the board. Number 10, unfinished business. None before us. We're going to move on to item 11A, the approval of county disbursements.
This time, Chairperson Bohm, I'd like to move to approve the county disbursements for April 2014 in the amount of $10,989,723.08.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner Smasco.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Riley.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item number B.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to adopt Resolution 14-20 for restoration of essential local public health funds.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item C.
Mr. Chair, I would move the adoption of Resolution 1422 pledging the full faith and credit for the Lakeland Drainage District 2014 Drainage District Bond.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Smasco.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner Riley.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item number D, the employment agreement for Dr. Mercantile.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would move to approve the addendum to the employment agreement with Dr. Annette Mercantant, extending the term of the agreement to 6/30/2014.
Support.
Discussion. Howard?
Just one comment. Just if you happen to hear that she is working at one of the clinics, keep in mind that one of the provisions in her agreement is that she has to maintain her medical certification. So if there's any question about that from the public, that's the reason she does do the clinic, I believe, on Saturdays.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number E, the Administrator Controller Employment Agreement Renewal for Mr. Kaufman.
This time it's my distinct pleasure to ask the court approve the renewal of the agreement for employment with William Kaufman as St. Clair County Administrator Controller.
Second?
Discussion, yes, Carl.
I'm in favor of this contract, but on, let's see, it's page 6, paragraph, section 7 begins with 7.1. It talks about an attached Exhibit B, performance evaluation and goals and objectives, and I note that no attachment B is attached to the contract. I'm in favor of having performance evaluation and having goals and objectives, but I think if we're going to approve this agreement, that we should quickly develop a section B that can be attached to this agreement. If we're not, I think we should delete that section from the agreement.
Well, Carl had actually called me on this, and obviously Carl's tenure as administrator, we all know that Carl's done this, and he's done a lot of places. And I told Carl to really sit down with Bill and Gary Fletcher to, work on an agreement. And if that is something that we would like to do, we can approve this contract. And if we want to do an attachment to it, so be it. Steve?
I think Carl's point's well taken. Is there any exigent reason why we could not table this long enough to get that attachment on there? I'm sure it's not a particularly complicated attachment. Is there any reason you're not going to bug out on us if we don't pass it tonight? Is there any urgency with any reason we can't wait 30 days and bring it back up, or 2 weeks, or put it on for final action at our next committee meeting? Are those documents being prepared? Do they
No,
exist?
that's fine. You guys fine with that?
Sure. I just have one question. Does this existing agreement expire before then?
Yes, it expires the end of May.
Well,
So we probably should just do
I think we should approve it. I mean, we could have a situation, something could happen to Bill or something, and not approving the agreement, there would be no agreement.
Well, we would have to extend the current agreement to cover that, but either way, we can't have it both ways. We either have to address that.
Extend it for a 90-day period, and then, does that make sense?
That's fine.
Do you want me to make an amendment to the
Someone will
motion?
need to make a motion in that regard.
I'll make a motion.
Well, we have a motion support to approve right now. So I would go back to you guys to amend your motion to include a 90-day.
Steve made the motion.
I'm sorry, Steve, yeah. Steve.
I can address that. I would ask that I be allowed to amend the motion to extend the current agreement with the administrator controller for a period not to exceed 90 days and bring this action back for final action once we have this attachment relative to the performance evaluation and goals.
Support.
David?
Right, and I know Carl has a lot of experience of this. We've had some emails go back and forth. I gave you my explanation as township supervisor, where we do a performance evaluation of every employee every year, and gave my concerns in it, and I think that can be addressed once we get forward into this, into the meeting, if we do come up with an attachment to this agreement.
Okay, all in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. We need the motion to, no, we're good. Oh, we're good on that? Okay.
All set.
Okay.
Item number F.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the revisions to the Circuit Court Manning Table This would eliminate 2 full-time secretary positions and 1 part-time law clerk position, and add 1 full-time law clerk position and 2 part-time judicial secretary positions and 1 part-time secretary position.
Support.
Discussion.
Mr. Chair, it might be noted that this will have a net annual savings of $1,696.
Yes, and this is per the court system too, so, okay. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number G.
This time, I'd like to move to adopt Resolution 1424, the bond authorizing resolution, 2014 capital improvement bonds for landfill improvements.
Support. Any discussion? Talked about this many a times. Matt's been in here a bunch, so. Roll call.
Commissioner Riley,
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop,
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner Tommy,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann,
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item number H.
Mr. Chair, I would move the adoption of Resolution 1425 ratifying the collective bargaining agreement with St. Clair County Juvenile Counselors Association.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number I.
Mr. Chairman, at this time I would move to approve Amendment 2 to the interagency agreement with Community Mental Health for Intervention Center Mental Health Coordination, reducing the total by $53,000.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Greatop,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco,
Yes.
Commissioner Tommian,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Riley,
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item number J.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to appoint to the Workforce Development Board Thema Costello, representing community-based organization for the remainder of a 2-year term expiring 8/1/2015, and Troy Piper, representing private sector for the remainder of a 2-year term expiring 8/1/2014.
Support.
Discussion. I actually had met Thelma previous, probably, it's 8 or 9 years ago. She was with the Detroit Regional Chamber back then, and she's got extensive experience and everything else, and I think she'll be a great addition to us here. So, on that note, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, item number K, this is where we get a little tricky here. We did the
So
moving around,
formally
so-
L.
Yep.
This time I would move to approve the request to eliminate 2 full-time purchasing clerk positions and add 1 full-time purchasing coordinator and 2 part-time purchasing clerk positions to the purchasing manning table. I would support that motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number L, which is the, that was the travel schedule.
Summer travel.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the 2014 summer travel meeting schedule as presented.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're going on to item A, which would be the resolution 26 approving Carl to the next Michigan Development
Mr.
Corporation.
Chair, I would move the adoption of Resolution 1426 approving the appointment of Carl Tomlin to the Next Michigan Development Corporation as an alternate representative.
I would support that motion.
Discussion.
Mr. Chair, this past Tuesday, Carl and I attended the I-69 Next Michigan Development Corporation, and the discussion about the meeting with Homeland Security, Johnson, Director Johnson, Secretary Johnson, and Senator Stabenow and Congresswoman Miller came up, and Carl was able to address the members of the I-69 Corridor Group. Did an excellent job, and honored to have him as my alternate.
Carl? Another assignment for you.
Yes. Prior to, Tim Ward was the alternate, and I think Carl's going to be an excellent alternate for the township, or I mean for the county, and represent us there at the I-69.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, item number, well, before we get into these next couple memorandums and the purchase of approving property, like I said, 3 years ago, I talked in front of this board. We went in front of the city council in Port Huron, and we talked about the art van purchase. I know we've probably had a couple different workshops at least that we've discussed the property over a period of time. 3 months ago, if you remember, there was a picture of us in the Times Herald building that was front page that was talking about the county looking at the art van, and we actually had people from the chamber that were there. It was well attended. Probably 50 or 60 different individuals came through. I've been on radio interviews talking about this. I know the library, they passed a motion a couple months ago at their board meeting, and some of the other stuff. So say that we haven't talked about it, I don't know. I mean, I know I've been part of a lot of meetings, and we've had lots of discussions about it, and we've had meetings in this room regarding it. So I just wanted to say that before we move into, the rest of this portion of it. But it's item number, we got J, we got O, N. Item number N, the memorandum of understanding with the St. Clair County Library Board.
Mr. Chair, I would move the approval of the memorandum of agreement between the St. Clair County Library Board and the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners.
Okay, I'll support that.
Discussion. Steve.
Based on some of the comments here tonight with some of the citizens that showed up, it appeared to me that basically there's a bit of a problem with maybe communication more than the nature of some of what is proposed here. Because I know these resolutions, you pointed out, Jeff, some of the, maybe it was Howard, like the library board resolution was a month ago or whatever it was, and I know this has been in the newspaper. I saw the articles of people coming and looking at the facility. The nature of the funding for it, I think, is a thing that people didn't maybe know a lot about, or maybe it's just now coming to light. So, but these boards are independent boards, and these things were on their agendas and were passed. Is that correct? And now we're merely looking at this to adopt their resolutions passed by these other boards that also have to meet Open Meetings Act requirements, notice requirements, and so forth. Is that correct, Bill? So, okay, that's all.
Okay.
Just to add to what we've already said, there has been a lot of legitimate concerns brought up tonight, and the library board and the park and rec have been on board with this, and the price of the property, there's concerns in every one of the commissioners here how the money and what we potentially can do with that, but the potential, I think, outweighs the negatives, and if we let this go by, we might not have this opportunity to have a piece of property right next to the county. So I do have reservations in this, but I will be in support of it.
Tom.
Well, I have also had reservations on it, and today I cannot tell you how many calls that I got on my phone regarding be it from the library or citizens in Marysville, Port Huron Township. I do think there's tremendous support, but I also understand that everybody I talked to today didn't like the way it was being handled because it's taxpayers' money one way or the other. If it fails and goes back, or we fail to do what we say we're going to do, it's going to go back out of our budget back to the two organizations, be it the library and the parks. But the problem I had was at the beginning was that if it came from another entity, then either a private entity or these two, but the way we're wording it out is if we don't do what we say we're going to do, we got to give that money back out of our budget regardless. I don't like that. I don't like using our budget money. I'm just not comfortable, even though I think there's tremendous opportunity with this building and this property. But under the way it's going right now, I cannot support this.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Carl?
I've had a lot of contact from citizens about this issue, and the ones that I've been able to speak with, it's mostly over the source of the funds and I think a misunderstanding of the Times Herald article. And one of the things that I've tried to share with them is I'm in favor of the project because I think strategically it's the right thing for the county to do. And I think one thing that people need to understand is that we are the largest employer in downtown Port Huron. We have the largest amount of single-purpose parking of any property owner or business in the city. And these parking spaces are important to our employees as well as to our customers. We want to make our buildings and our services available, and we can't do that without adequate parking. Now, the library board has expressed this interest in potentially expanding the main library building. And they came to us and talked about wanting to acquire some of the existing parking that the county has. And I don't feel that we could support their project and say that we would give up or sell them the spaces they would need, because I think it would be a problem for our employees and it would be a problem for our customers. So there's been some discussion about how this might work out. I'm glad to hear the president of the library board come and say that any expansion of the library would be subject to a vote. And I think that that's a good policy. But really, if that project is going to move forward, there's two choices. You know, acquire additional parking for the library, or see the library abandon its existing facility and move somewhere outside the city of Port Huron. Now, that's not bad in itself. We've already had one major facility of the county relocate outside of the county campus in the jail, and I think that was appropriate because there was an adequate space, and the location that they're in now is desirable. But between the courthouse and this county administration building, there is the potential that there's going to be a need for some new space in the future. And this has been pointed out tonight. The price of this property has gone from $1.5 million down to $500,000, and it's probably the lowest price, in my opinion, we're going to see of that property. Just in the last couple of months, we've seen the announcement where a new transportation terminal is going to be built in the city. There's a new boutique hotel that's looking for existing parking, and soon their parking is going to be a real premium. And I think, you know, to continue to keep the county campus together in the downtown, it is strategic for us to acquire this property so that we have the ability to expand services when necessary. I think it would be very embarrassing to us if we turn down this opportunity and in a couple of years we're forced to buy the property at a premium. That's also not representing the interest of the taxpayers. In talking to the people that contacted me, when I explained that their impression of the article in the Times Herald was the county board had decided to raid the millage funds of the Parks and Recreation Commission and the library. They were surprised to hear that those boards had been consulted and actually have proposed agreements that were going to be on our agenda tonight. That considerably softened their view of it. None of them were opposed to our project, but it was the source of funding. So I'm very much in favor of this project. If there wasn't this source of financing, I would advocate that the county use its general funds for it, because I think it's a very strategic piece of property, and it's one that it's really in the best interest of the whole county for us to control. We don't want to place such a key area around our campus in the control of private developers.
Just to add on to that, and I just really want to reemphasize, I said before, the library has, potential need. Parks and Rec with the repurposing of the portion of the building is something that is, the Parks and Rec is going to be moving on. So these aren't, to your point, raiding the funds and not having it passed by their boards, not, being discussed. That's not the case. So enough there. Bill?
Carl, excuse me, Commissioner Tamian mentioned a few of the things that I wanted to say, so I don't need to reiterate what he said. But what I will say is that I am fully in favor of acquiring this property and doing the things that have been mentioned here tonight. And I agree with Carl that I think we would be remiss in our duties if we did not get this property at the time we can get it for the price we can get it, because we are going to need it eventually. And if we don't need it, somebody's going to need it, we'll get it to them. It's going to be needed downtown here. On the other side of that coin, though, I have to say that I cannot support taking the money from Parks and Recreation, even though they have offered it to us. And the reason that I say that is because I'm a commissioner from the south end of the county. We do not have a park anywhere down there, and I've been on this board now. This is my second term on this board, and when I campaigned first time out there, what I said to the people in my area was I would do my very best to get a park in the south end of the county. We currently have an offer or have property, 2 pieces of property that we are bidding on down there in order to put a park down in the south end of the county. It's 28 miles from my house to the closest county park, and that's for everybody in my area. And due to those feelings that I have and the people that are down there in the south end of the county have, and along with the fact that both of the southern end park commissioners, Terry Wallace and Bill Foster, voted no on this project, I will not be able to support taking the money from parks.
Okay. Any other comments at all? Roll call.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
No.
Commissioner Riley.
No.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item number, that's O, correct? The Memorandum of Understanding with the St. Clair County Parks and Rec Commission.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would move that the memorandum of understanding with St. Clair County Parks and Rec Commission and St. Clair County Board of Commissioners be approved.
Support. Discussion. I think we pretty well covered. Steve?
Just that, our last motion was to adopt the resolution of the other board, not to buy the property. And so some of the objections I thought were odd because, to not support the other board's vote, I'm going to adopt their amendment whether I agree with it or not. But then the third issue will be, after this resolution is passed on, whether or not we buy the property. So
Don't you do that all the time, Steve?
What's that?
I said, don't you do that all the time?
Well, my point is that I'm going to support the resolution of the Parks Board, just as I did for the Library Board, and then I've got some comments that I'll address on the actual purchase of the property itself, on the resolution for the purchase.
Okay. Anything else? Roll call.
Commissioner Samasco.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Riley.
No.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
No.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. P would be approving the purchase of the property, 318 Grand River Avenue.
Mr. Chair?
I got the,
Oh, okay.
We changed P, had P, but we moved that down, didn't we, Don?
P is,
correct, we moved K down to P,
Yeah.
so it's no longer K.
Right, okay.
P was formerly.
I just didn't move
Jocelyn
the
on the
K.
numbers.
Yeah, okay.
At this time, I'd like to move to adopt Resolution 1423, approving the purchase of 318 Grand River Avenue in the amount of $560,000.
Second?
Discussion. Steve?
Just, I've been very sensitive to the issues that were raised by the public. They're here. A number of people from my district are here. And I've looked at issues like the need to wait or what's the rush. I've addressed that personally, and I've looked at that. My understanding, and I know the public doesn't know a lot or doesn't know everything about how things transpire, you know, in a county this size, but my understanding, and correct me, Bill, if I'm wrong, and just to put this out for the public, we had a purchase agreement that was an action of this, or an option to purchase for some time now, 60, 90 days, is that correct?
An option, correct.
We had an option, and that was publicly discussed, and we've had that option for some time, and it expires relatively soon? Or are we in an
Correct.
extension period?
We're actually in extension.
So we're now in a period of extension. So this issue of why a rush,
It's probably been more like 120 days, actually.
my point
But-
is nobody likes to have something shoved down their throat. Nobody likes to be surprised. I think the newspaper editorial was misguided in a sense. The way they postured it confused me. There was a lot of things they said that I didn't believe to be accurate. There's a loan and some other things, and I think that might add to some of the issues that the public has, because that's how they first were introduced to some of this. Although there were other materials contained in the paper, and other boards have taken action, and we've had things on our agenda and so forth. But on the issue of need to wait or what's the rush, that's the reason why I think it's important to do something on it right away, because I also know that there are other parties interested in this particular parcel. And I also know, I was here several years ago when that was looked at, and it was over $1 million. So, you know, I like a good deal personally. I think that when prices drop like they have, and we're at a price like this, and it's something that has come back in front of this board during my presence 2 or 3 times with different initiatives and suggestions and topics, that, again, that adds to why I need to consider that. The dedicated fund issue is very, very important to me. I'm a technical kind of a person, and I'm very, very interested in making sure that dedicated funds are used for a proper purpose. This board and county government does many things that are spectacular, and then many things that are mundane. And parking is a mundane part of supporting a library, or supporting our employees, or supporting other things. So to use dedicated millage funds to secure future parking, to me, from a legal and personal perspective, there's really nothing wrong with that if it makes sense. And for the reasons Carl said, and I think what Jeff put up, I think it does make sense. And so I did look at that, and I'm very concerned about that. And there's particular language that I had suggested that will assure that the county will make sure that the purpose and intent and the spirit of the millage is strictly followed, because that could be a legal problem. And it would be unfortunate if, after this meeting, the takeaway is that the county raided something, or that the millage is being squandered. We have wonderful park system. We have a wonderful library system. This board supports it, the public supports it. We have millage-funded activities like this that other jurisdictions do not. So I would support the park in this future funding issue. Similarly, supporting, the library in the parking issue. Similarly, the park, supporting park, I think includes securing interesting properties that have park potential. I think that's a proper park function. We have a park resolution. We have a library resolution. These are all things that I think are consistent with each other and consistent with good public stewardship. It's unfortunate that there's been insufficient information exchange. I did try calling you folks back today. I think you called my office. The phone was busy. I had one other phone call. I couldn't get through. I did talk to a couple of folks, and likewise, when you explain some of the details, they're much more understanding of it. So I hope the takeaway is that we are going to do this, and have done this in a very frugal fashion and a very careful fashion. But again, I trust our library board judgment. I trust our park board judgment, and the action I will take will support that judgment. And I think that overall there are safeguards in place on this funding issue. To give the townships the money issue, I never thought of that, but the gentleman that said, let's just give the money to the townships. We have parks that I'm very, very proud of. And I've always advocated for additional funding going to townships for things that townships might want. You know, in my district, I kid some of the other commissioners, if I want to go walk around on a 100-acre park, I go in my backyard because I have a farm, and it's been a family farm. You know, so I don't need a 100-acre park to walk around on because I have it. But I do like having access to the water. I come down with my wife and get a Dairy Queen and sit and watch the freighters. We might, you know, we like different things. What's suggested and been in the newspaper and discussed publicly is this idea of maybe an open-air theater. My father sold turkeys at the Eastern Market when he was my age or younger. And, you know, maybe there's something like that could be looked at. You know, it's a proper rec purpose. So well, I just want the public to know we're very cautious and very careful about what we do and how we do it. And I'm glad that I think it's a good time to make this purchase. And so I will support it, but I want the public to know that this is done in a very careful and cautious manner. And we'll continue to include and hopefully better some of our communication. And maybe there's something we can talk about at a later point on how to get information to townships on topics that are off agenda, that aren't, you know, action topics, but things that are being discussed or considered. That might be helpful, so at least Terry Gill can look at it and say, you know what, I'm going to call Steve. I think that's good or bad or whatever. So yeah, I appreciate your coming here, and I guess that's all the commentary I have.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You know, today, as Commissioner Tomian said, talking to people, a lot of questions were asked about you guys are telling them what to do, et cetera. And I said that wasn't the case at all. The case was that, you know, there was a lot of conversation, but they made the decision that they feel the use of it down the road. And I don't have a problem with that. I understand that the money's not coming directly from the county. It is coming. If they decide, as I said before, if they decide to spend the money from the parks or to spend it from the library, you know, that's their money, that's up to them. But the thing I didn't like and I don't like is the fact that if we don't do everything as this says in there, then we have a possibility if we have to give that money back to them, reimburse them kind of, and that's what I don't like. I don't like just spending money and not knowing exactly where that's coming from at that time, and we're down the road a ways, I understand, but somebody's going to have to fess up to that down the road. If we do everything as we said, we're in great shape. That's why I'm not supporting it. I think the opportunity is good. I think the property is fine. I think if things went along like we thought they might turn out, I think it's got some potential. But I'm certainly not comfortable with the idea of potentially spending money down the road if we don't know where it's coming from at that time, other than general, and I will not take general. Our county is held back on employees and held back on a lot of things and cuts. I think we have to take a look at that, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay, anything else?
One other comment, Jeff, just again, something similar that we've done recently is there was an initiative that Commissioner Rushing had put out on getting some park money for fixing roads around the Goodles Township Park. And I've been out in Goodles Township my whole life, and because the park was willing to do that, and I applaud them for being willing to consider that, we put that with other monies, and maybe Dave can talk a little bit about some of the numbers, but there were very significant improvements out there by other entities, the road commission, us, the state getting involved with park and rec money, and it's clearly a recreational purpose. It's mundane, it's not green grass and flowers and trees and wildlife, but it's a way to get out there without running through potholes and you know, things like that. So I just wanted to offer that as another note on the issue.
David?
Yeah, on that, if you're not aware, we had this, I believe it was 2, maybe 3 months ago, but in regards to the Goodles Park, the Park and Rec, in partnership with Wales Township and also the Road Commission, all the roads out there are going to be widened and paved. If you've been out there, we have a fantastic county park at Goodles, and the roads do need work, and they're on board to make the roads much better out there. So that's what he's making reference to, a partnership with the other entities within the county.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Smasko.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
No.
Commissioner Tomian.
Yes.
Commissioner Riley.
No.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes. Item 12, Administrator's Report.
Before I get started tonight, I want to just give a a minute of my time to the clerk to share with you a little bit information about a proposal he'll be bringing to you very soon.
If you can find it in your stack of stuff, I provided you with just a brief letter when I arrived. Thanks, Bill. The letter just states quickly that I had some discussion with Administrator Kaufman about the fees in the clerk's office, more specifically the vital records fees, which would encompass births, deaths, marriages, those types of things. In 2002, we adjusted fees on those. We moved them from $10. Let me take that back. In 2005, we took them for $10 from the first copy and $4 for the second copy to $10 for the first copy and $5 for the second copy. So we moved it $1 9 years ago, and it had been some time before that there was any price adjustment. Now, fiscally conservative, you guys know where I stand with my budget and how I manage my budget and what I do with the funds that come into my office. But I think we do a tremendous disservice to the citizens to artificially hold those numbers down, because when the day comes that we actually have to make a move to, when we really do the math on what our costs are to produce those documents, it's a dramatic increase. And I think we're not operating fiscally responsible to do those kind of things. Included with that letter, stapled to it, was a previous communication with Administrator Kaufman addressing what my proposal may be. And it's relatively modest still. The state sets guidelines for me as to what we can charge for those. They put a maximum on them. And we are not even at 50% of the maximum with my new proposal on those numbers. And ultimately, it just adjusts the first copy that a person buys when they buy a birth or a death certificate or something like that. One of the interesting items is that, surprisingly, birth certificates, death certificates are purchased most of the time, close to 50% of the time, by individuals who don't live in our county. They were born here, or they had a loved one pass away here, but they don't actually live here. So the other piece of the dilemma that I face is we're actually using taxpayers' dollars to subsidize the cost of documents that we're dispersing to individuals who are not even residents of St. Clair County. That's a secondary issue. So I would like you, if you have time, to review that at your leisure. It's something that I'd like to come back and talk to you about. There's one more little piece. Within the next few days, we're going to have a marriage application online that people will be able to make application. They will be able to pay their fee, and they will be able to then come and pick up their marriage license at the clerk's office. State statute is there's a 3-day waiting period between application for marriage and picking up your license. Well, the dilemma that causes for the average citizens, whether you're coming from Algonac or Yale, is you drive into Port Huron, you make application, then 3 days later you have to drive back to pick up your marriage license. So that's going to be our first step of an online application for many items that come out of the clerk's office.
Is that a 24-hour service, Jay? They can
It'd
do
be
it
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, they'd be able to make application. One of the items that I do want to discuss with you when we get to that point is the internet usage fee, which is by statute in the state of Michigan, we're allowed to charge for the convenience of that service. You guys would establish those fees as a board. I would like to present to you my logic as to why we would charge a small additional fee online. Many things, including our cost, including our credit card transactions and those kind of things, are part of it. We don't have to go into detail tonight, but I wanted you guys to be aware of that and take some time to review that. If you have questions, contact me. Yeah.
I just have one as we go forward with this, and I like your proposal. Just give us a rundown of the additional revenues that may be expected.
Right. And I can give you
for both issues.
I can give you a picture of the operational cost too of what it costs us to produce those documents.
That'll help us out. Go forward and raise the things.
Yep.
One of the things I did, I went over and saw Jay here the other day, and he was showing me some of the things that he would like to do as far as some of the called digitizing, but it's amazing. Preservation, it's extremely hard to look up documents, find information, those types of things. And
a lot of just quick information, a lot of our historical documents or our older documents, and when I say older, I would say anything older than about 1970, you literally have to pan through books to find the information. And that's extremely labor intensive to do.
The need for information from 1970 is limited, however.
It is. What you see mostly is births and deaths, and then secondary to that, you just see genealogy researchers coming. But we have to provide that service, and as you can imagine, you know, again, when you charge $10 for a document that an employee spends 3 hours digging out of the archives, you can see how we rapidly go backwards on our operational
Can you
costs.
do a system that keeps that out of the average, though? If you want an archived document from, you know...
Well, that's what we're doing, and that's what Chairman Bowen was
I would encourage you, everybody here, to, if you get a chance, go over and see Jay, and he can show you what they're working on doing, and, you know, basically getting everything digitized for, you know, for that purpose.
Yep.
And it's just so much easier. The 24-hour online stuff, as many of you know, Jay's a better mousetrap guy, as I always, I always call him, so go see his new mousetrap he's working on. It's pretty good. But he's really, I give him a lot of credit, because a lot of the things that he is, whether it was the cards for the, you know, the CPLs to him, all those types of things, you know. I mean, we used to make hand cards before too. He's getting us into the digital world over there where we need to be, and, you know, it's going to take some time to catch up. With that being said, administrator's report.
Last Friday, the construction and demolition work out at the convention center began. It started with just removing some areas that are in the way of the event hall. That work has begun. The site has been prepped. You will be bringing in engineered soil or sand, fill material. We've got anywhere from 3 to 5 feet of fill material that we'll be bringing in, so the floor of the event hall will match the floor of the existing facility. That will be the next step. So you'll probably see a lot of trucks rolling through that area delivering sand. And at that point, they'll begin working on the foundations. So you'll see some additional equipment there. The project does remain on budget, as is the case with every full board meeting. There is a copy of the Construction Center Construction Fund in your packet, what has been budgeted for the project, as well as what has actually been spent to date on the project. Tomorrow we do have an important meeting with our construction manager to talk about setting up regular meetings with all of the contractors. Right now we just have a few contractors on site, but very shortly there will be quite a few different trades there. And their job, the construction manager's task, will be to ensure that nobody gets in everybody else's way, that the work moves along very smoothly, and also extremely safely as well. If any of you are interested in taking a look at the facility while it's under construction, we ask that you call ahead so we can make sure that we know you're going to be there, and we can ensure that the workers that are on site know that there will be a visitor there, just to ensure your safety as well as the safety of the workers. If you have any other questions about...
If I call ahead, can I run the crane?
Can I add a little more information on the hotel? John Wheeler, the owner, one of the owners of the property, talked about it the other day, about his expansion plans that he has in the works. They're working on some additional site plans for another 60 rooms, actual suites to be attached to the hotel. He's been working with Hilton. Hilton feels that it's going to be one of the premier properties for them, and they're going to put a lot of additional money into marketing that facility and stuff. And with the size of the facility that's being built, there's going to be also the additional demand trying to get it around to the 200 room neighborhood. So that part of it is, like I said, John talked about it the other day in the paper. I had a meeting with him and that's just not hot air. That is in the works as we speak. So
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but to me what it looks like is the hotel is already doing a very good business without the convention center, and now with the convention center coming online, they can see they already need new rooms, and it's not even in operation yet.
we just had that meeting today. We had a Blue Meets Green planning meeting day. Carl was part of it. Bill Graytop. How many people were there?
About 60 people were there.
Yeah, 60 different people, and we talked about that. And John Kuthi, the general manager, gave an update on their numbers and, all the things that are going on up there, and it's been very positive.
To address what you're saying, what Carl just said, it looks like the county's averaging in the low 50% as far as the room occupancy rate here, and the hotel is up around 62%. So the hotel is surpassing the rest of the county by almost 10 points, if I heard what John Keithy said today. So they're doing very well.
The other thing that I thought was interesting is that their restaurant and their hotel facility is in the top 5% in terms of their customer surveys of all the similar properties.
Actually,
across.
number 5 out of 268 DoubleTree properties. Hilton has different properties. They have a baseline, then their DoubleTree is the upscale, and then actually the addition that they're going to be building on that 60 rooms is a suites, which is even a step up, which includes outdoor pool, tennis court. That's part of some of the other amenities that they have to have for that property. And I can't think of the brand name that he said what it was, but it's still a Hilton product, but it is the next notch up.
But it is exciting. There was an article in the paper where Mayor Pauline Repp mentioned the fact that both the new boutique hotel that's looking to site in the downtown and the new Holiday Inn Express that's being built out on Water Street, both of those developers, in speaking with the city, said the building of the convention center drove their decision as well.
Well, occupancy, I happen to sit on the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I know occupancy numbers fairly well, and I sit with actually 5 other hoteliers that own other properties in the area. They know that the convention business is going to add X amount of room nights into the overall room nights, which will drive their rates up to much higher percentage levels, which it's like anything, it's demographics in the hotel business. If the hotels are running X amount of percent, then that demand is X amount of more hotel room nights in a market. So these guys, they do their homework like anything, and they know those numbers. So you're going to see a definite increase in room nights, room stays.
Mr. Chair.
Howard?
Just a comment. Commissioner Rushing and Commissioner Tomlin and I went up to the MAC 7 meeting, and at that meeting, the executive director of the Michigan Association of Counties was there, and he was asking me about how we're coming along with the convention center. And I mentioned that, that we should have it open sometime early spring of 2015. He was interested in bringing the Michigan Association of Counties Summer Conference to Port Huron. So he inquired about the number of rooms. I told him presently it's 129. He said the Michigan Association of Counties needs about 160 rooms. And they would like to have it all within one facility rather than have people shuttled around. I'm going over tomorrow to Lansing for the Michigan Association of Counties meeting for Taxation and Economic Development, which I am the chair. And I will talk to Mr. McGuire and relay to him that the discussion is to put on an additional 60 rooms. And they're looking at probably 2 years away before they bring it here.
Excellent.
Sorry, Bill, I didn't mean to chime in.
That's okay. Last Saturday was the ribbon cutting for the dedication of the Island Loop National Water Trail. A number of you were here. We also had Senator Stabenow and Congresswoman Miller here. Also, the director of the DNR was here. We did take them on tours of the Island Loop tour and brought them up to the lighthouse as well, had lunch with them up there. It was a good opportunity to talk more about what's going on in St. Clair County. So that was a great project, and I think you're going to see a lot more interest in, let's say, kayak and canoeing opportunities within St. Clair County over the next couple of years. It has grown significantly. The EDA had a meeting, their executive board earlier this week. I just want to share one item of interest with you that their staff shared with us, In all of 2013, they had 18 plants within St. Clair County that expanded. In 2014 to date, they've already had 19 expansions in St. Clair County. So manufacturing is certainly picking up, although manufacturing is different today than it was 5-10 years ago. But they are expanding, they are adding jobs, certainly not at the rate that they did before, and many of the jobs they're adding are much more, let's say, technology dependent. We did have a community retreat today. Many of you attended that. We talked about business and community development, marketing our region, placemaking, talent development, and education. I think it was a very upbeat session. One of the things that I noticed is many of the initiatives that are going on out there, the county was recognized or the county has been a part of. So certainly many of you, as well as many of the staff of the county, are getting involved in some great things that are going on in the community and taking some very important leadership roles, and you should be proud of that. Our legislative lunch, quarterly legislative lunch, is scheduled for Monday, next Monday, in the Dodge Auditorium. All of you should have received an agenda. It did go out to our legislators earlier this week, so they have an idea of what to prepare for when they do attend. It is at noon. If you could give our office a call tomorrow or send a quick email and let us know if you're interested in attending, we'll make sure that we note that. We'll certainly be talking about federal issues, the federal transportation bill and its impact on us. The Road Commission will be there to talk a little bit about it. Certainly the state budget, what's happening with the state budget is going to be very important to all of us. We're hoping that the state will have their budget in place sometime later this month or very early in June. Many of the things that we do here, many of the budget decisions that Ms. Hepting will be making, as well as the other department heads, depend on knowing what is going to happen with the state budget. We'll also be talking about state revenue sharing as well. So we encourage you to attend if you are at all available. The last thing I want to mention to you is there's been a small work group formed of a number of county agencies or departments that have begun speaking with the economic development community, and very soon we'll be talking with HR directors from the private sector, just trying to make sure that they are aware of the types of programs that are offered by county departments, whether it's through the health department, the courts, the library, community mental health. There's an awful lot of programs that the taxpayers already pay for, programs that are offered by the community that can help some of those private business people keep their costs, their labor costs down, but also provide benefits to their employees that they probably don't know about, benefits that I'm sure they don't know exist today. So that work group has begun meeting. It has some very exciting potential, and we'll be sharing more information with you about that as we move forward. And that is it.
Questions for Bill? Motion to receive and file the administrator's report.
So moved.
Steve, did you have something?
Nope.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Miscellaneous business, none.
We did have some
Oh,
miscellaneous.
I'm sorry, did we have some miscellaneous
One
business?
miscellaneous item, Jeff. I don't know if, how the other board members feel, but I thought it'd be a good idea to respond to something as an op-ed piece on the piece today on the purchase.
I have actually something that I passed out to everybody that I was going to submit.
You're going to send that out, or is that
Yes,
been
I was
sent?
going to send that. Actually, I was going to hand it to Nick. If I give you a letter to the editor, is that something that you can pass on, or how do I? I can do that for you. Yeah, okay.
Great. That's it.
Okay. Anything else? Receive and file.
Move to receive and file.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjournment.
Motion. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
We hope you enjoyed this week's St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting. Your St. Clair County Commissioners broadcast these meetings on Comcast Local Access Channel 12 every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. If you have any questions on any part of this program, please feel free to contact your St. Clair County Board of Commissioners or staff. You can find their contact information, the meeting agenda, and videos of the meetings at www.stclaircounty.org.